Let's cut to the chase here. The Plain Language Big Book that will be presented to the General Service Conference in a few months is not a translation. When Hollywood finds an old movie that was a hit and wants to make an updated version of it, they call it a remake, not a translation. They hire current actors, they update the script, add a few new twists, and the result is that they create a new version of that old movie that has been reinterpreted. The Plain Language Big Book is not a translation. It uses the same language as the Big Book. It is using different words from that same language. They have reworded our original book. The book would better be described as a reworded version of our Big Book, not a translation. It's a remake. But wait a minute. You might be saying to yourself, hey, Hollywood remakes are sometimes better than the original. Well, I've seen some of those too. However, there's a very large segment of our fellowship that views this project with a skeptical eye. Even before I just pointed out that the word translation is misleading, there's this feeling in our hearts that there's just something not right here. We've been fed generalities and aspirations. We've been given reassurances and have heard the same talking points repeated over and over. But when we seek specifics, we get deflections. Consider the objective that's been expressed by those promoting the book. They tell us that it's been written at a fifth grade level so that those less educated can better understand. Well, there's a line in the Working with Others chapter that suggests that we should never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. How are they going to reword that? And then there's a line in the How It Works chapter that we all know. We hear it at meetings all the time. It warns us against seeking an easier, softer way. So I'm going to ask you to consider for yourself, is dumbing down the language an attempt to find an easier, softer way? But let's cut to the chase one more time. The biggest concern for most of us is that this is going to wind up being a woke reinterpretation hidden inside of a translation. And if that turns out, this is going to rip a gash into the heart of AA unity. New York is either oblivious to this or they don't care. I don't know which would be worse, but they don't seem to address that. I can only ask, why is the bottom of the triangle in New York promoting this so hard? Why are they seeking to push it through so fast? Why do we get the feeling that they're telling us that we've got to pass this bill before we can tell you what's in it? Well, in just a few months, the General Service Assembly is going to be voting on this book. Let me strongly suggest to all of you that there is absolutely no good reason to approve this book this year. Most of the delegates will have a scant 2 hours to read that document before they vote. Only the Literature Committee will get more time to study it. So I urge you to speak to your GSR, your DCM, your delegate. I urge you to make noise and ask your delegate to become part of a coalition to make the motion to postpone approval of this book until the 2025 Assembly. This will give the delegates a year to take a closer look, inform their areas, and ease the fears that I've just addressed. But New York has so far deflected that suggestion by saying, we can't distribute copies of this book. The copyright problems. That is a lame excuse, and it adds more suspicion about their motives. There's no reason that over the course of a year they could not arrange a number of weekends where various delegates could come to New York and examine this book in much more detail. Okay, let me end here by saying my real hope here is that a time is going to come when I can look back on what I just said with embarrassment. It's my hope that all of this is based on unfounded, fear. However, it sure looks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, and it walks like a duck. But I sincerely hope that it turns out to be something other than a duck. Now, if you're anything like me, this issue is troubling, and that makes it even more important that we handle ourselves in the spirit of love, forgiveness, and harmony. But right now, the most crucial goal for all of us must be to uncover the truth. Thank you for listening.